What if the love story you thought had the perfect ending never truly ended at all? What if it was only paused by time, fear, and the choices two people were not ready to face? The story of Pretty Woman was never just about money, hotels, or fairy tale romance. It was about two broken people finding something real in a world that never gave them space to be real. Edward and Vivian came from very different places, but the moment they met, something shifted. Their connection felt honest, soft, and unexpected. Years later, that feeling still lingers in the hearts of viewers because it was never about how the story ended, but how it made us feel. Love felt possible. Change felt possible. And hope felt close enough to touch. Time has a strange way of changing memories. What once felt perfect starts to feel incomplete when you look back. That is where this story begins again. Not in a hotel room or on a busy street, but in silence, in distance, in the quiet space where memories live longer than promises. Edward and Vivian are no longer the people we first met. Life moved forward, and so did they. Careers grew. Responsibilities grew. But emotions never fully healed. Some connections never fade, no matter how much time passes. This sequel idea is not about repeating the past. It is about facing it. The kind of love they shared does not disappear just because years have gone by. It becomes heavier, deeper, more complicated. The smiles from before now carry regret. The laughter carries questions. And the love that once felt easy now feels dangerous because it reminds them of what they lost and what they never finished. This is not a fairy tale anymore. This is real life catching up. At its heart, this story asks one simple question. Can a love that changed your life once change it again? Or is it meant to live only as a memory? The return of this story is not loud or dramatic. It is quiet, emotional, honest. It begins with a feeling that never left, even when everything else did. Years after their story first touched the world, Edward lives a life that looks complete from the outside. Success followed him everywhere. Power, respect, and control became normal parts of his daily routine. Yet something is missing. The excitement is gone. The warmth is gone. He learned how to win in business, but he never learned how to keep the one thing that made him feel human. Vivian was never just a chapter in his life. She was the moment that showed him who he could have been. Vivian's journey took a very different path. She did not stay the same woman we remember. She grew stronger. She learned how to stand on her own without needing anyone to save her. Life taught her lessons that love alone could not. Pain shaped her. Experience sharpened her voice. She no longer waits for rescue. She chooses her own direction. But even with all that growth, a part of her heart still remembers the man who once saw her differently than anyone else. Their separation was not caused by hate or betrayal. It was caused by fear. Fear of change. Fear of losing control. Fear of loving too deeply. Sometimes love fails not because it is weak, but because the people are not ready. That truth stays with them. Every relationship after feels smaller. Every connection feels incomplete. Because once you experience something real, everything else feels like noise. This part of the story is about distance. Emotional distance. The kind that grows slowly and quietly. The kind that makes you wonder what would have happened if one choice had been different. Edward and Vivian never stopped caring. They simply stopped fighting for the same future. And now, years later, that unfinished feeling begins to rise again. Fate does not announce itself. It does not arrive with music or big moments. Sometimes it shows up in the most unexpected way. A place, a name, a familiar face across a crowded room. The reunion between Edward and Vivian is not planned. It is uncomfortable, quiet, heavy with emotion. Words feel unnecessary because their history speaks louder than anything they could say. One look is enough to bring everything back. The past returns instantly. Not just the good moments, but the pain, the mistakes, and the silence that followed. They see each other clearly now, without fantasy, without illusion. Time stripped away the fairy tale and replaced it with truth. This is not about falling in love again. It is about facing what was left and finished. About asking questions that were never asked. About listening instead of running away. Their conversations are slow and careful. Every sentence carries weight. Every pause means something. They are no longer young and reckless. They understand loss now. They understand regret. And that understanding makes the connection stronger, but also more dangerous. Loving again means risking pain again. And neither of them knows if they are ready. This reunion is not about fixing the past. It is about understanding it, accepting it, and deciding whether the future deserves another chance. Love does not return the same way it left. It returns wiser, quieter, and more demanding. The question is no longer do we love each other. The question is, are we brave enough to try again? Love after time feels different. It is not loud or perfect. It is careful, honest, sometimes painful. Edward and Vivian now understand that love alone is not enough. It requires choice, effort, and courage. They must face who they became without each other and decide if those versions can exist together. This is not about going back. It is about moving forward with the truth. Their story now carries emotional scars. Trust is fragile. Hope is cautious. But something powerful remains. A connection that never fully broke. A feeling that never faded. Love that survived distance, silence, and years of separation. That kind of love does not promise a perfect ending. It promises something more real. This sequel idea is not about nostalgia alone. It is about growth, about showing that love can evolve instead of disappearing, that people can change without losing who they were. Edward and Vivian are no longer chasing a fantasy. They are facing reality together, one step at a time. The story ends not with answers, but with possibility. With two people standing at a crossroads, aware of the past, present in the moment, and uncertain about the future. And sometimes that uncertainty is where real love begins again. Years have passed since Edward and Vivian last stood together at the end of their story, and life did not stop for either of them. Time kept moving, quietly shaping them into different people. Edward continued climbing higher in the world he knew best. Deals became bigger, numbers became colder, and success became routine. From the outside, his life looks complete. Expensive homes, powerful connections, and a name that still commands respect. But behind closed doors, there is a stillness that never leaves him. The kind of silence that follows a life built on control instead of connection. He has everything he once thought mattered, yet something important slipped through his hands long ago. Edward learned how to protect himself by keeping emotions at a distance. Love became something risky, something that could disrupt the order he worked so hard to build. Vivian was the one person who broke through those walls without trying. And when she left, he rebuilt them even stronger. Over the years, he tried to replace that feeling with work, distractions, and temporary relationships, but none of them stayed. They filled time, not the space she left behind. Every quiet night reminds him that success does not keep you warm, and money does not answer the questions that stay with you forever. Vivian's life followed a path shaped by growth and strength. She refused to remain defined by where she came from or who tried to save her. She built a life that belongs to her alone. Education, work, and self-respect became the foundation she stood on. She learned how to survive without leaning on anyone else. The woman she became is confident, thoughtful, and fully aware of her worth. She no longer needs approval or rescue. She knows who she is. But even with all that strength, some memories never fade. Edward was not just a part of her past. He was a turning point. He showed her a version of herself that believed in possibility. That belief stayed with her long after they separated. She loved again, she tried again, but something always felt missing. Not because she wanted him back, but because what they shared was unfinished. Love does not always end cleanly. Sometimes it stays open, like a door no one ever closed. Their distance was not caused by anger or betrayal. It was caused by timing and fear. They wanted different things when they were not ready to understand each other fully. Life pulled them in opposite directions, and neither of them knew how to fight against it. As the years passed, the distance became normal. They learned how to live without each other, but never learned how to forget. This part of the story is about two lives that look complete but feel incomplete. About people who grew separately while carrying the same unanswered questions. Edward wonders what kind of man he could have been if he had chosen love more boldly. Vivian wonders what kind of future they might have built if they had trusted each other more deeply. Neither of them is broken, but both are missing something that cannot replace. Their worlds are stable now, but stability is not the same as happiness. And sometimes, the strongest lives are the ones hiding the deepest emotions. This is where their story truly begins again, not with romance, but with reflection. With two people standing firmly in who they became, yet still connected by who they once were. The moment Edward and Vivian cross paths again does not feel planned or dramatic. It feels strange, almost unreal, like two memories walking toward each other in real time. There is no rush to speak, no need for explanations. Their eyes meet, and the years between them disappear in an instant. Everything they never said hangs in the air, heavy and unspoken. Time has changed their faces, but not the recognition. They know each other in a way no one else ever truly did. The space between them feels larger than the room they stand in. Every step closer brings back fragments of the past. The laughter that once came easily. The moments of fear they never admitted. The silence that followed their goodbye. Neither of them knows where to begin because beginnings are hard when there was never a proper ending. Words feel fragile. One wrong sentence could break the calm they are both trying to hold on to. Their first conversation is careful and slow. It is filled with pauses, half smiles, and moments where they almost say too much. They speak about small things at first, life, work, time passing. But underneath every word is something deeper, pressing to be acknowledged. The truth is clear even without being spoken. Seeing each other again has reopened something neither of them was ready to face. Love does not return as excitement. It returns as weight. Edward listens more than he speaks. For the first time in years, he is not trying to control the moment. Vivian notices this change immediately. The man standing in front of her is quieter, more grounded, shaped by loss and regret. He no longer hides behind charm or confidence. She sees honesty in his eyes, and it unsettles her. Because honesty makes it harder to pretend nothing matters. Vivian is different too. Her voice is steady. Her posture is strong. She no longer bends herself to fit into someone else's world. Edward sees a woman who knows her value and is not afraid to protect it. That realization brings both admiration and fear. Loving her again would mean meeting her as an equal, not as someone who needs saving. And he is not sure if he deserves that chance. As they continue talking, memories surface without being invited. A song, a joke only they remember. A look that once meant everything. Each memory pulls them closer while reminding them why they fell apart. The past feels alive, but it no longer feels safe. They are aware of the damage love can do when it is handled carelessly. This reunion is not about fixing what was broken. It is about understanding why it broke in the first place. They both carry guilt, but they also carry growth. Years of living without each other taught them lessons they could never have learned together. And now those lessons stand between them, asking to be acknowledged. When they finally part ways that day, nothing is resolved. But something has shifted. The door they thought was closed is now slightly open. They walk away knowing that seeing each other again has changed everything. Not because they plan to fall in love again, but because they can no longer pretend the past does not matter. And sometimes, that is the most dangerous kind of reunion. Time has a way of changing how love feels. It no longer rushes in with excitement or fantasy. It moves slowly, shaped by experience, loss, and understanding. When Edward and Vivian begin to spend time together again, everything feels different from before. There is no pretending, no hiding behind charm or innocence. Every moment carries awareness. They know how much love can hurt, and that knowledge makes them careful with each other. Edward no longer approaches love as something to control. He has learned that strength does not come from power or wealth, but from honesty. Being around Vivian forces him to face parts of himself he once avoided. He listens more. He speaks less. He allows silence to exist without trying to fill it. This is new for him. Love now feels like responsibility, not escape. And that responsibility both scares and grounds him. Vivian, on the other hand, refuses to lose herself again. She has worked too hard to become the woman she is now. She sets boundaries without apology. She speaks her truth without fear. Loving Edward again would mean choosing him, not needing him. And that difference matters. She wants a partner who stands beside her, not in front of her. The love she offers now is deeper, but also more demanding. As they grow closer, old wounds resurface. Trust does not return easily. Every small disagreement reminds them of the past. Every moment of closeness raises the fear of loss. They both understand that love is not proven through grand gestures, but through consistency, through staying when things become uncomfortable, through choosing each other even when doubt appears. Their conversations become more honest with time. They talk about mistakes they never admitted before, about the fear that pushed them apart, about the silence that hurt more than words ever could. These conversations are not easy. They are heavy and emotional, but they are necessary. Healing does not come from avoiding pain. It comes from facing it together. Love after time carries scars, but it also carries wisdom. Edward and Vivian begin to understand that what they had before was only the beginning. That version of love was real, but incomplete. It lacked patience. It lacked courage. Now they stand on equal ground, aware of each other's flaws and strengths. And that awareness makes their connection stronger than it ever was. There is no promise of perfection. There is no guarantee of forever. But there is choice. The choice to try again with open eyes and open hearts. The choice to build something honest instead of ideal. Love no longer feels like a fantasy. It feels like work. And for the first time, both of them are willing to do it. This part of the story is about acceptance. Accepting who they were. Accepting who they became. And accepting that love, when it returns, does not ask for youth or perfection. It asks for truth. As Edward and Vivian stand at this new stage of their connection, the story shifts away from romance and moves deeper into meaning. What remains between them is no longer excitement or fantasy, but something quieter and more powerful. It is understanding. They are no longer trying to impress each other. They are trying to be honest. And honesty, after years of silence, feels both freeing and frightening. Forgiveness becomes the center of everything. Not just forgiving each other, but forgiving themselves. Edward carries regret for choosing safety over love. Vivian carries regret for walking away without demanding more. Neither of them was wrong, but neither of them was brave enough at the same time. Love failed not because it was weak, but because it was unfinished. Facing that truth is painful, yet necessary. Their time together now is built on small moments, shared silence, thoughtful conversations, eye contact that says more than words. These moments do not feel dramatic, but they feel real. Love grows slowly when it is shaped by patience instead of desire. Every step forward is careful, measured, and intentional. They are no longer chasing a dream. They are building something grounded. The emotional weight of their past never disappears. It stays present in every choice they make. But instead of running from it, they learn how to carry it together. Edward learns how to stay present even when things become uncomfortable. Vivian learns how to open her heart without losing her independence. This balance is fragile, but it is honest. The story now asks a deeper question. Is love about finding the right person or becoming the right person at the right time? Edward and Vivian are no longer searching for answers in each other. They are discovering them within themselves. Love becomes a mirror, reflecting growth rather than need. There is no clear promise of a perfect ending, and that uncertainty gives the story its strength. Because real love does not offer guarantees. It offers possibility. The possibility that two people, changed by time, can still choose each other with clarity instead of illusion. This chapter of their story is about maturity, about choosing connection over comfort, about understanding that love does not rescue you from life. It walks with you through it. And sometimes, that quiet companionship is more powerful than any fairy tale ending. In the end, what makes this story matter is not whether they stay together, but whether they are finally honest with themselves. Whether they allow love to exist without fear. Whether they accept that some stories do not need perfect endings to be meaningful. They only need truth. This is not the return of a fantasy. It is the evolution of a love that survived time, distance, and change. And that alone makes it worth telling.